The sports business. It's a huge, multifaceted industry, and there are lots of different ways it operates and secures funding. So let's break down how it generally works and how sports companies get those all-important investments. First up, how the sports business works. It's not just about what happens on the field. The sports business encompasses a wide range of activities. Think about professional sports leagues and teams. These are the most visible, right? Organized competitions, player contracts, and fan engagement. You've got the NFL, NBA, MLB, Premier League, the big leagues. But then there's amateur sports, youth sports, high school, college sports, and all those recreational leagues. And you can't forget sporting goods and apparel. The companies that make and sell all the equipment, clothing, and footwear for every sport imaginable. Then there's sports media. Broadcasting companies, websites, publications, all covering sports events and news. And what about sports marketing and sponsorship? The agencies and companies that promote athletes, teams, and events, and connect them with sponsors. Don't forget sports facilities and event management. The organizations that own and operate stadiums, arenas, and the people who plan and execute the sporting events themselves. And finally, sports technology. Companies developing technologies related to sports performance, fan engagement, and sports management. It's a growing area. Now, let's talk about key revenue streams in the sports business. Where does the money come from? Well, there's ticket sales, of course. Revenue generated from fans going to games and events. And broadcasting rights. Those fees are paid by TV networks and streaming services to show the games. This is huge, especially for professional leagues and teams. Sponsorships and advertising are big. Companies pay to associate their brands with teams, athletes, and events through sponsorships, endorsements, and advertising. There's merchandise sales. Selling team-branded apparel, equipment, and other merchandise. And licensing. Granting rights to use team or league logos and trademarks on products. Concessions. Sales of food and drinks at the venues. And digital and content. Revenue from online platforms, streaming services, and content creation. Okay, so how do these organizations get the money they need? Let's talk about how sports companies get funding from investors. Sports companies, just like any other business, need funding to operate and grow. And there are several ways they secure investments. First, private investment. You've got individual investors, wealthy people who might invest directly in teams, leagues, or sports-related businesses. Then there are private equity firms. These firms invest in established sports businesses or acquire teams, often to increase their value and sell them for a profit. And venture capital firms. They invest in early-stage sports tech companies or innovative sports businesses with high growth potential. Another way is through public markets. Stock offerings. Some publicly traded companies in the sports industry raise capital by selling shares of stock to the public. This is more common for the larger companies. There's also debt financing. Loans. Sports companies can borrow money from banks or other financial institutions. And bonds. Teams or stadium authorities might issue bonds to raise capital for long-term projects. Then you have team ownership structures. Partnerships. Multiple people or entities pooling their resources to buy a team. And limited liability companies, LLCs. A common structure for team ownership, offering liability protection. There are also specific funding avenues. Crowdfunding. Platforms like Kickstarter or Indiegogo for specific projects. And government funding. Sometimes, governments fund stadium construction or infrastructure.